Hello everyone. My makeup's a little bit crazy because I'm planning to do an 80s party for my 18th birthday, and so that is why my makeup's a little crazy, and I was just practicing on how to do my makeup. For those of you who don't know, I am turning 18 tomorrow on the 16th. Yay! Anyways, just for you guys, I'm going to do a Game of Thrones episode 2 review. And it's going to be much like the last one. It's going to be one big spoiler, so you choose now whether you want to continue. It's going to be a spoiler for people who haven't read the books, or people who haven't watched the TV show. So that's done. No spoiler alerts. And it's going to be like an overview where I go kind of scene by scene. If I skip a scene or two, sorry. But I have my notes right here, so let's do this. The opening, I wanted to say that this episode is pretty uneventful. There's events, but it's easy to follow. Whereas the other one, I had to kind of explain a few things for people who might not know what's going on. Where this is pretty simple and basic. You should understand what's going on in this episode. So, kind of a little bit boring for me. I just needed to say that. But it was a great show. It's just, like I said, no need to clarify much, so boring for me to review. That's what I mean. So the opening scene, we see Dany, Daenerys, I call her Dany for short, and she's riding her horse, and we can see that she's not used to riding a horse. That's why she needed to get carried off the horse, and her handmaidens are, fixing her hands because I'm guessing she has blisters and such. I like this scene because of Ser Jorah, and he is the man that is always with her. He's a knight from Westeros that is following her Khalasar around. And we find out that he was exiled for selling slaves to a slaver, or poachers to a slaver. And I'm guessing Ned Stark, I believe, is the one who exiled him. Anyways, next, Tyrion wakes up in a kennel, and he keeps waking up in weird places, or we keep seeing him in weird places. First a whorehouse, now a kennel. Tyrion. Anyways, Tyrion slaps the hell out of Joffrey because Joffrey is being a bastard. The Stark's son just fell out a window, and he's not giving any condolences to the Starks. People are wondering, okay, what kind of a prince is this that he's not, giving his sympathies to someone who just had a terrible incident. Their son just had a terrible incident. So I love Tyrion because he's doing what his parents aren't doing. Cersei thinks he's a prince, he could do whatever he wants, and Robert, he's just probably not a good father. He's always drinking. He just lets his son do whatever he wants. So Tyrion's being, a father figure. He's actually punishing his nephew. So that's what I love about Tyrion is he's not afraid to slap his nephew even though he's the prince. I like how Tyrion just walks out and walks away like he didn't even wake up in a kennel. That's what I love. He just gets up and walks away. It was hilarious. And next we see him with his family, with the rest of the Baratheon children, and Jaime Lannister. And I just love that scene because we see how loving Tyrion is, how much he loves his family. And here we see that Tyrion kind of suspects something between Cersei and Jaime if you didn't get his subtle hints. I wonder what the boy would have to say when he wakes up. It's just interesting. Next is the Catelyn and Cersei scene, and I don't get this scene at all. Cersei is saying that she had a boy before who lost his life. I don't remember this from the books, and I'm confused because I would think that Cersei would be trying to manipulate Catelyn into, putting her son out of his misery, and she didn't even try to do that. So I'm totally clueless as to why this scene was here and why Cersei was trying to act sympathetic. It's not part of Cersei's character. I was confused at that scene. Next, we get Jon and Jaime. Jaime's being an asshole, an arrogant one. And we get a little bit more about the Night's Watch, how you take your vows and you're on the wall for life. It's not something you volunteer for and then just leave whenever you feel like it. That's probably why criminals get sent up there, because it's a lifelong sentence kind of a thing. And then next we get the John and Arya scene, and this is probably one of my favorite scenes from the book. And I didn't like the scene in the show because John doesn't seem as brotherly as he should. Arya's all open and happy, and you could tell she loves her brother, and John's a little stiff and like cold. It's weird. But anyways, he gives her a sword, and we can see that that's something she's really going to like, and it's probably going to be a big part of the future of Arya is her sword that she has now, and it's so cute because she names it Needle because Sansa has her needle. She's a lady, she sews, and now Arya has her needle, and she could do boyish things, which is sword fight. So that was cute. And then we get the scene where Jon Snow goes into the room where Bran is, and we find out that Bran is still living. We found that out through Tyrion, and so he's living, and he's just out. He's not talking. He's just unconscious. So Jon Snow is gonna say goodbye to him, and Catelyn's there, like distraught and like devastated because of her son's situation. And we see how cold she is to Jon Snow. And honestly, this is another one of those things where I think they should have used the quote from the book. In the book, she says something along the lines when Jon Snow's about to leave, it should have been you. And oh my god, that sounds like so cold-hearted. I'm surprised they didn't use that quote. But she just says leave, basically, in a very cold kind of a way. But I like the book's version because you can tell she's saying it should have been you. Like, you could see like her hatred for Jon Snow. When she just asks him to leave, even though she says it in a cold way, it could be just because she's sad that her son's in the situation. And so it was like unclear. It's still like they still don't show how much Catelyn hates Jon Snow like it does in the books. Anyways, I hate Catelyn Stark anyways. And then next scene, Ned comes in, and he's we find out a little bit about Jon, how he came about, and apparently Ned married Catelyn, and then he got caught up in Robert's rebellion, and when he came back, Catelyn had Rob, not to be confused with Robert the King. She had Rob, and Ned came back with another baby, and that's Jon Snow. So we figure out that Jon Snow was a product of when Ned went to war with Robert's rebellion. Next, we have a Jon and Rob scene. It's quite brief. They say goodbyes, but what I like about the scene is Rob asks, "How was my mother?" And Jon Snow says, "Oh yeah, she was nice." And I love that because you can see like Jon Snow didn't want to burden his brother with, having to choose like, oh, my mother's a total B, or, feel like he has to defend her. He just like avoided that situation at all. And I like in the books because you could see like Jon Snow was kind of hurt, like, he's not accepted. And so that was a quick scene. Next we have Jon and Ned, and they have a little moment together where you could tell Ned loves him, but he doesn't want to show him how much he loves him because, like a bastard, he's never going to be accepted. So Ned's doing the best thing for him, which is, not showing as much love as he does with the other children. So he promises to tell Jon Snow about his mother when he gets back. And here we should know all by now that something's weird going on. Who's Jon Snow's mother, and why is it such a big mystery? Even Ned Stark wouldn't keep something like that a secret. Like, what's the big deal? You've dishonored yourself. Everybody knows. It's no big deal. So obviously Jon Snow's mother is like someone important. That's what I'm thinking. So he promises to tell him when he comes back, or when they ever see each other again. So we get the Ned and Robert scene next. They're on their way to King's Landing. You get a little bit more of King Robert's charisma and what kind of king he is. And we get Ned and a little bit of reminiscing. You could tell they love each other like brothers, and he brings up the women they've been with during the war. And he can't even remember who Ned was with, and Ned tells him that the bastard's mother was someone called Wyla. So who's that? We don't know yet. Hopefully we'll find out soon. So that's a little bit of the key to the mystery that we might be wondering about. Who's Jon Snow's mother? And then we also find out that King Robert knows about Daenerys and her marriage to the Horse Lord, the Dothraki Horse Lord, the Khal Drogo. So we see Robert's anger flare up almost instantly about being thinking about the Targs, and we could see Ned doesn't have the same reaction. And this is very interesting because Ned has every reason to hate the Targaryens just as much as Robert. And King Robert lost his lover, Lyanna, to the Targaryens, and that was Ned's sister. And Ned also lost his brother and his father to the Targaryens. But for some reason, Ned doesn't hold any hatred, and I guess he understands that they had nothing to do with the war or anything. So I think that there might be something a little deeper as to why, Ned doesn't have this unsated hatred for the Targaryens. But I won't get into that. Next we see Dany and the cow having fun in the tent. She's not having fun, but he is. And what was interesting about this scene is that when Daenerys looks at her egg, she smiles like it gave her strength. So that's a little bit of a foreshadow there. She's getting strength from these dragon eggs. Is she hallucinating? Is she having dreams of, grandeur or something? Because the Targaryens used to rule over dragons. Targaryens and dragons were bonded, they belonged together. They would ride them, they would command them. And I'm thinking now that the dragons are gone, the Targaryens are missing something. They're missing a part of them. And so that may be a little bit of foreshadowing there. Next, Jon sees that they've recruited criminals into the Night's Watch, and in order to get numbers, they've got a couple rapers there, and the Night's Watch isn't made out of, these honorable men that the stories say, and that the Night's Watch is dwindling and, dying. So that was probably a little bit of a wake-up call for Jon Snow. So that sucks. And Tyrion's been trying to tell him this whole time, but Jon Snow's really focused because in the Night's Watch you can become something. A bastard can become something. One of these rapers can become something. Well, they call them rapers in the book, not rapists. So I'm staying true to George R. Martin. They have a quick, Jon Snow and Tyrion scene, which was really cool. I love Tyrion Lannister, but they didn't mention Tyrion's love for dragons, and in the book, that scene's amazing. If you read the book, check out that scene. It's my favorite, favorite Tyrion scene. Next, we see Kat all depressed by her son's bed, and she doesn't want to leave Bran's side, and Master Luwin's trying to tell her, there's duties need to be done, stop moping around, and Robb comes in and even tries to tell her, the worst part's over, Bran's most likely going to live, and she doesn't even want to hear it. So Robb does his lordly thing and decides, I'm going to take control, I'm going to take up my father's duties. So that was cool. We see Robb taking initiative. Next, Robb sees a fire, and Catelyn just, stays in the room. She doesn't care about the fire. It seems like she's totally clueless. And so an assassin comes in, and he's after Bran, and I have to admit that even though I hate Catelyn, she gets some mother points because she doesn't just try to run out of the room, try to save her own life. She is there to defend her son to the death. She grabs a blade while he tries to slit her throat. She's wrestling him. She's trying to do everything to protect her son, and I thought that was pretty cool. But she didn't need to do that because next thing you know, Bran's wolf comes swooping in and kills the assassin. And I thought that was pretty awesome because finally we get a direwolf scene where the direwolf's in action. And that I think the direwolves are very important to the books, to this whole like plot that's going on. I think they're very symbolic and very reflective of their owners. So I was so happy to see a direwolf in action. And so we see that he wasn't just, out to kill for bloodlust. You could see that he was there to protect Bran, because after he kills the assassin, he goes and lays down on Bran's bed like nothing just happened. So that was cool. Next, Dany wants to make the cow happy. She admits it, so she has one of her handmaidens teach her how to please her man. I think that was kind of weird. They do this in the books, but I wasn't expecting it to do it in the show, so that was cool. It was a quick scene, so I can't really talk about it very much. Next, Kat investigates the tower, and what I don't like about this is that it doesn't tell you why all of a sudden she has this change of heart to just leave her son. Yes, an assassin just tried to kill him, but like, I think they should have included that she feels safe, like that the boy is being protected by the wolf. But they don't say that. She just kind of goes out and starts investigating. It's weird. But Kat finds a blonde hair in the tower, the same tower that Bran got thrown off of. So who do you blame? You blame the Lannisters. And I guess it is Cersei's hair. We do know who pushed him off. But they also find out that the blade that the assassin was using is a very fine make. It's Valyrian steel. Only a lord or someone with lots and lots of money would have that. So they have two clues, the hair and the knife. And so Kat decides she needs to go to King's Landing and warn Ned. And so she decides to go, stealthily with Sir Roderick and tell Ned. But what I don't like about this is she says, like, she's leaving it in the Seven's hand. Like, those are the gods. And she's leaving it in the gods' hands. And I'm like, did the wolf not just protect your son? Does the wolf not get any credit at all? That's the only thing that pissed me off. It was pretty like the books. But in the books, she actually does give credit to the wolf. Maybe not, like, vocally, because I don't remember. I haven't read them in a while. But she does give credit to the wolves. And I think they should have done that in that scene. Next, Next, Dany is like learning how to please her man, and then she tries it. But I like the book scene better. The book scene was a lot more romantic, and I actually think it's like the day her and Cal conceive her son, which is why it was so romantic. She does it under the stars in front of the whole Khalasar, because like in the Khalasar, like, you're very open with everyone. And so her and her man love each other out in the open. But here it was just in the tent. Wasn't even romantic. So that was kind of bleh. But I guess they did it to show you that Dany is learning to, like, take control, starting to, like, speak up for herself, and starting to, learn how to be more of a queen, and, less of, like someone who gets taken advantage of all the time. But she was like pretty much abused by her brother this whole time. But now they're showing you that she's learning how to like take control of herself for herself. Next, we have Sansa walking Lady, which is her direwolf. And she meets Sir Ilyn Payne. And Sir Ilyn Payne is the royal executioner. And we find out that his tongue was taken out by hot pincers under the Mad King's reign. So we understand that the Mad King was kind of mad and loved his torture, apparently. And the Hound. We see a Hound finally gets like a kind of a bigger little piece to say before like he just kind of hangs around. And he's really funny. I love him. He's great. I think his makeup looks amazing because half his face is burned. And so she's surrounded by two very scary, creepy guys. Poor Sansa. And even then, she's trying to be as ladylike as possible. So we find, we see the Hound. He's explaining who Sir Ilyn Payne is. And we could see from the scene when Joffrey comes about that Sandor Clegane, who's the Hound, is treated like a hound. He does what he wants. He does what the Joffrey wants. So there you go. And then Joffrey decides, hey Sansa, let's go take a walk, you know, see what's going around, you know, I don't know, just to woo her, I don't know. Anyways, they find Arya playing swords, which are sticks, with the butcher's boy, Micah. And Joffrey decides to be a little ugh and mess with the poor butcher's boy. I don't know why. That's very rude. And so he's cutting the guy, and Arya doesn't want to take it. She starts beating the guy with a stick, beating Joffrey with a stick, and he gets his little butt beat. And Sansa is defending Joffrey, like, you know, you're ruining everything. And then Nymeria comes out of nowhere and bites Joffrey's arm because he's like holding a sword, swinging it at Arya, and so Nymeria disarms him, and Arya throws the sword in the river, and it was all out of defense for Micah. So Arya hides, and she makes her wolf leave. She throws rocks at it. She just wants him to be safe, so she sacrifices her wolf. You know, makes her run away. So Nymeria is safe now. And the Lannisters take her before the king, and Sansa is in defense of Joffrey again, saying she doesn't remember what happened and all that nonsense. And it makes me mad because the Starks are so honorable and so family oriented that it makes me pissed off that Sansa wasn't right there to defend her family or her sister when she needed her. So that really pissed me off. I hate Sansa. I probably hate her more than Catelyn Stark and Cersei Lannister put together. So Cersei has them kill Lady instead of Nymeria because, you know, the wolves are dangerous, and she probably just wants to be a B-word and let Sansa know, like, who's in control and all that. So poor Sansa, you know, you can see how distraught she is. These wolves are very connected to their owners, and so Ned Stark decides to give the wolf a clean northern death, and you know, a northern kills the wolf. So I love Ned Stark for that. I like absolutely love him. And so Ned Stark goes out, and we see that the Hound has killed Micah and just rode him down with his horse. You could see like the wounds in his back, and it's pretty gross. But we see that the Hound pretty much does whatever Joffrey says and the Lannisters say. So I still love Sandor. Sandor's one of my favorite characters. I can't wait till we see more of him. But right when Ned stabs the wolf, kills her, Bran wakes up. So maybe that means something, maybe not. But Bran's awake, and that's how we end the scene. And then with another Bran scene. First Bran gets pushed off the wall, and then now he wakes up. So Bran's probably going to be an important character. That's my review. I have a Facebook page if you want to follow me and ask me questions, or, you know, just interact with me. I also have a formspring that you can ask me questions that I will be making a question and answer video, so ask as you please, as long as it remains appropriate. And thank you for your time. That was my review. Hopefully I didn't mess up because there's a lot of characters, so I'll try to make little notes every time I mess up when I go through this video. So bye.